I've made some videos about the NGU, number go up, aspect about Bitcoin, and many other people have done the same thing. Oftentimes people talk about $1 million Bitcoin, $10 billion Bitcoin, $1 trillion Bitcoin, pick a number. The price is going up. In today's video, I'm going to look at the price in a very realistic lens. Let's get into it. One of the most, and yet at the same time least, interesting things about Bitcoin is NGU, number go up. I say it's one of the most interesting things because if it didn't have that aspect, not many people would care about it. Oh, I heard it was worth X dollars this year, and now it's worth so many more X dollars. Wow, how interesting. It'd be kind of like saying the most interesting thing about gravity is that stuff falls down, and that's sort of missing the point. I recorded this on Memorial Day, May 29th, 2023. And in today's live show, Opti and Nico talked about this video that was tweeted out by Guy Swan here, and they're talking about the Sailor video back in 2012. The stock is going to 2,000, and Guy says, with a 7-to-1 split in 2014 and a 4-to-1 in 2020, the price at the weight of when then the comment was made, the price would be $4,900. Now keep that in mind as I go over this tweet. This is from Seth Michael Steele, at Seth_Michael Steele, been seeing this floating around Twitter. Quote, take a look at the past halvings. 2012 Bitcoin halving, price was $182. After a year, $510. 2016 Bitcoin halving, price $661. After a year, $2,600. 2020 Bitcoin halving, the most recent one, price $8,600. After a year, $58,000. And he goes on to say, and I find it interesting. Here's why. In 2012, we saw a 2.8, I'm going to round up here, 2.8 times. In 2016, we saw a 3.9 times. In 2020, a 6.7 times. He says, notice anything or the lack thereof? Where are the diminishing returns? From 2012 to 2016, there was a 1.4x in returns. From 2016 to 2020, there was a 1.7x in returns. Due to the lack of metrics in the grand scheme, it is difficult/ineffective to try and establish a pattern so early. Believe me, we are so early. But following the numbers we have so far, it would not be surprising to see a 2.1x in returns when comparing 2024 to 2020. This would mean potentially a 14.1x in the year following the halving. This seems too good to be true, and I'm planning on sticking to my predetermined plan for Bitcoin accumulation. But I would not be surprised to see a $390,000 Bitcoin by 2025. Don't get me wrong, number go up is the least of my worries, but I do believe you must first appreciate number go up to fully appreciate 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. I found that tweet because of Knut Svanholm. I think I'm saying his name somewhat right. He said here, Bitcoin is worth 280 times more today than 10 years ago. The same development over the next 10 years would mean a $7,840,000 price per Bitcoin in 2033. Perspective shifts fast indeed. I'm bringing all this up because I want you to wrap your head around an idea right now. How do you get money? Whatever money it is that you operate in, USD, pesos, rubles, etc. How do you get that? What do you do? If you're like me, the primary way that I get USD to pay for the bills that my wife and I have is by going to work. I trade my time and energy in exchange for money, USD, currency, US dollars. The reason I mention that is because this right here is one of the most interesting numbers in all of Bitcoin to me. This right here. Currently, it is sitting at 3,615. You can trade a single dollar for 3,615 sats. The reason that is so important is because of this right here. When Bitcoin is worth 7,840,000, you'll get 12 sats for $1. Do you understand how drastically different that is? The reason why that's so important to understand is because there will be a point in time where you cannot trade dollars for Bitcoin anymore. And that's the point that people have talked about. People have talked about how there is a point in the future, and the not so distant future, honestly, probably within your and my lifetimes, where people go, The way I transact, the way I buy my coffee, pay my rent is with Bitcoin, with sats. So I don't have any interest in your US dollar. It's continually inflated. It's worth nothing. It's effectively sand at this point. It's like those pictures that we've seen of the Weimar Republic or down in Venezuela where the people are just heaps and heaps and bags of this paper currency that have thousands or million written on them because it's nothing. It's just fluff. It's barely worth the paper that it's printed on. The reason I started with that Saylor video is because Michael Saylor is a visionary. He is an extremely smart individual. He understands things from first principles. Once you spend the requisite time understanding Bitcoin, doing the research, and you understand that something so simple is the answer to so many extremely complicated problems, then these prices, the 7 million, 10 billion, whatever the case is, don't really matter anymore. You start to understand that those prices are denominated in today's dollars. But when everything, and I mean everything, every country, every nation state, every person on the planet goes, I don't want any of that garbage currency. I want the best money that has ever existed in all of history. And even AI are going, hey, I want some of that too. Because paper money that can be inflated by the whims of some corrupt politicians, that's not of any interest to me. I want something that is connected to the physical, something that requires actual energy, real energy. When the AI and every person on the planet, every sentient being in existence wants one money, how do you put a price on that? It's you can't. There isn't a price for that. So the idea that right now, today, you can spend a single piddly measly dollar for 3,000 plus sats is mind-blowing. Our children and our children's children, and certainly our great-grandchildren, it won't make sense to them. It'll be similar to the Louisiana Purchase. Wait, you bought an entire section of land for peanuts? Oh, back in 1803, honestly, not that long ago, a couple hundred years ago, $15 million was spent for this. This enormous chunk of land was purchased for $15 million. 828,000 square miles of land for $15 million. I don't know that there's ever been a better, depending on whose side you are, deal or worse deal in all of human history. But I'm just a guy, and here I am saying crazy numbers, and you're saying, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, fine. Maybe I don't, but I am just parroting the thoughts of other people far smarter than me. People like Jurian Timmer, director of global macro at Fidelity Investments, believes that one Bitcoin could be worth $1 billion by the year 2038. $1 billion. That is way more than Knut Svanholm's 7.8 million right here. Way more. Here, remember this? When Bitcoin is worth 7.8 million, you get 12 sats. But how many do you get when the price is $1 billion per Bitcoin? You ready for this? Do you get one? Do you get five? You get a tenth of one. You get a tenth of one. When the price of Bitcoin is $1 billion, you can't even trade a dollar for 1 sat at that price. It gets you a tenth of a sat. I'm not interested in it for me. I'm interested in it for the future generations. That is what you should be considering when you invest in Bitcoin. Do it for all of humanity. Do it because it makes the most sense. And nothing, and I do mean that, nothing else even comes close.